Alright, welcome back everyone. I think I've done enough test recordings and we are back for another episode of House of the Dragon, or Hot D. Season 2, Episode 6, and we're back on another night, alright? I believe, right, Eamon was getting some stuff done, and now we'll see what Miss Arya does. Wait, does it actually tell me the episode? No, yeah, it says Episode 6, Small Folk. It's not Miss Arya on this one, so it's interesting. Alright, so it's not Miss Arya. Right, with me options left, Rhaenyra embarks on a risky venture while Aemon takes steps to reshape the Green Council. So the title does show up after probably the hour or so, maybe an hour and a half or so, because I know I'm notoriously late to these things. Without further ado, let's just get into this. Alright, skip this bad boy.
I bring 1,000 knights of my own, and 7 times as many archers and men-at-arms.
So smug, and they're actually bringing a lion.
They are most eager to embrace the hospitality of your keep.
Tell you they're gonna be dining.
To summon me with haste. I am the Prince Regent, not a dog to be called to heel. Daemon's dragon will become the least of his worries.
Your irritations are justified, Aemon, but it does seem...
I have a task for you as well.
Oh, yeah, he's nailing it, by the way. Yes.
As you are now. To fight on 2 fronts. His grace speaks wisely. We will fly out to meet you when the time is right. My uncle is a town and welcome. If he dares face me.
Yes, on so many levels, but right, she was challenging him, right? The way Sansa was to Jon Snow.
Me of your place in a small council. Is dead. Aegon is.
You have the impetuousness of youth. And its arrogance. Neither of which can decide in a king.
You of your seat, such as it was.
Ouch. Within the family, she advised Viserys, and now he's dead, and advised Aegon, and he's, well, whatever he is. I don't know, there's just so much tension there, right? He's releasing her receipt, but then she's like, oh, she's still his mother, but no, let's be honest, she's not that great at it. Though maybe a bit, a bit too bold, but it's not exactly wrong. I realize I've never taken importance to either which Lannister was on the small council, right? But the Lannister is really, he's really overreaching there. The reference was in Dunk and Egg, Lannister's just another respected household, but in A Song of Ice and Fire, or the modern A Game of Thrones, it's practically a curse word, right? Everyone snickers and spits at the name of Lannister, right? And that being Tywin's legacy. I forget, was this during the time of Dunk and Egg? I think maybe that was the, maybe, yeah, it might be Greenseer, right? Yeah, it's probably the Greenseer, right? The Greenseer being able to send dreams in A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, it's almost like they're broadcasting. Yeah, maybe you should have learned your sigils of whichever family. Maybe a brief recap of the places might have helped you to realize, okay, so what exactly is going on in Harrenhal? I mean, they know dragons exist. They know magic exists. I don't know. They for a time period and place that seems to have dragons and magic, he doesn't really seem that well versed in it. Right? Does he even know Greenseers exist? Right. They're making Daemon out to be more grounded, but magic existing in this place and specifically this time, being more prominent in this time, being proficient in magic is grounded for the time period. They're making Daemon, I think, grounded to where it'd be in the modern sense. Not necessarily period accurate, I guess. So she is a Greenseer. I mean, if you're on in the Song of Ice and Fire, right, in the quote-unquote modern times, right, if he's gone to a Shy and Valerian, full Valerian armor and everything, like if Euron's that well versed in it, I mean, there's no reason Damon shouldn't be. Especially given the time period. You should chance it, right? When he was, right, it just sounds like Damon saying to Caraxes. Again, this is just off of memory. I haven't rewatched season 1. Though I probably should have. They're certainly giving her a lot of screen time. Guess maybe they wanted to give the actress a larger role. It kind of makes the world smaller. I mean, yeah, sure, we're seeing the same. Like, no, there's no reason why Aegon's victim to be the one that's working in the service industry. Are those the qualifications to have been assaulted? That's a prerequisite to work in the service industry. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really liking it this much. I mean, we saw her that one time. That should have been it. At this point, I'm sure they could have had like maybe someone else. I mean, unless they're trying to make a point that maybe they're going to use her, right, for Rhaenyra's handmaiden was going into the Red Keep. Maybe they're going to ask her as her being a former servant. Other than that, I mean, if so, then this kind of made it even lamer. It does make it a bit more predictable than more or less the edge of your seat stuff. Then all right, well, that's probably oh, Rhaenyra. Oh, are we gonna have her don the dragon gear armor? Yeah, it suits her. We should see her don in the dragon rider armor, right? Because she can really embrace that look. Yeah, just to like maybe, I guess, politicize her own self, right? PR, more peasant life, right? The dragons require feed, and of course they're wearing the greens color.
Little patience for the self-important Lord Larys, and even less for flatter responsibility.
I mean, he gives him, right? He gives him the position.
You toad, defender. Send word to Otto Hightower.
Okay.
Cautious, but his devotion to his family has never been in doubt.
Everyone's been pretty much faking each other out. The dragon, now Aemond. Right, Aemon's learning a bit more of the politics. So there's some politicking that he wasn't that familiar with, but he does seem to, at the end of the day, make the right choice.
You challenged maybe.
Right, the internal damage. Yeah, his inside might be mashed potatoes. Like, right, the first time was probably an accident. Second time was like, oh no, like, yeah, you're dragging out your mistressy things too much. Her handmaiden that was to be admitted into the Red Keep, or possibly King's Landing. Can't keep track of all the minutiae. I don't get it. Are they saying that Rhaenyra is sending them food? Not a bad PR stunt. Still go by the politically incorrect cripple, right? This would make 2 of Alicent's kids, quote unquote, crippled, right? Which is, again, I'm sure even in those times it's probably worse. So she sent her son Daron to be raised at Old Town, which is why she's asking her brother, right? Similar upbringing. Yeah, I don't think they've. Yeah, I think Alicent's understanding that. Yeah, maybe this might be the last time they see each other. No sworn protector, or maybe are they taking that as an omen, right? That's how. Oh, right, the dog. Is that the same dog of? That's Jesus dog, right? Well, then I guess she's the queen, right? Are they gonna confiscate the food? Oh, it's a brilliant shot there. Oh, I thought you were hungry. Oh no, they're also on edge. I don't know. I mean, we've all seen season 1, right? Stay away from the fate. Right, he needs to be told. Oh, cripple on cripple sympathy. I should say disabled and non-disabled sympathy. Right? More or less embracing the period accurate lingo. Right, he's fine. He's still trying to get that position by at least explaining the politics of succession. He's like, okay, so he will get the position of hand of the king. Now he just has to keep the king alive. Was Daemon even there when he was mourning Emma Arryn? Oh no, wait, it's probably not Emma Arryn, right? It's probably their mother. It is still a good idea that maybe be OP in this case. Right, this is lingering on way too long. What was the point? Oh, are we gonna get fan service? I'm sure this is gonna send the entire community. So did he see? Probably. So she just took off with the dragons. Well, at least we got one dragon seat down, right? One dragon. Alright, so we've just finished seeing House of the Dragon season 2 episode 6, and with apparently the message being there's only 2 episodes left, so 7 and 8. So I was unaware that we were only going to get 8 episodes for season 2 of House of the Dragon. So again, interesting. I mean, again, Ewan Mitchell is chewing up the scenery in his portrayal of Aemon Targaryen, right? Again, all of that just brilliant. He's nailed that part, and he is more or less leaning into the, well, maybe he is trying to seize the throne at this point, right? Super on point. And again, I'm pretty sure Aegon does remember, and he is saying, no, I remember nothing. But no, I'm pretty sure he remembers. She's just like, all right, fine, take the throne. I don't want to be harmed by Aemon's plotting. And of course, poor Larys Strong just being like, no, you're not getting the hand of the king, right? Probably due to the possible Kinslayer title that he's been sporting ever since that incident at Harrenhal. They might, I mean, we've established that the Harrenhal people do know, and if they know, then well, who else knows, right? I mean, presumably everyone's like, whoa, Larys Clubfoot or Larys Clubfoot Strong has more or less committed king slaying. So, but then again, so has Aemon in a way, right? And even worse because, right, his brother was the king. So in a way worse, but right, they're both dealing with fire, right? One dragon fire and the other just, I don't know, typical combustion fire. So again, it's just it's not as, again, it's more like steamed and like a bit more mystique, the most ruthless of way with Larys Strong, as opposed to Aemon's like, well, I mean, maybe, I mean, and on top of that, Aegon survives. So he's, again, Larys Strong saying that, well, he's already written himself into the history books, having survived the dragon fire. Again, whatever's left of him, probably not a great, it's not a great experience, probably, but again, it will be in history books, his survival of that incident. And I'm sure the small folk in a way reviewing that, but again, they really did need Otto Hightower to do the PR for the small folk, and Aemon just like, right, he's right because of the fact that the Lannisters, right, the other Lannister twin, has sent that in such a smug way. Aemon's like, no, I'm like, no, he shouldn't be doing that. But then again, we are seeing that, oh yeah, they are strutting around the lion, right, the Lannisters. And so, yeah, he should have definitely gone over there, broken the blockade, and maybe, I'm sure he probably could have come up with some way to still show up to break Rhaenyra's blockade, and then possibly maybe have some sort of recommendation for the other Lannister that's been taking the tone with essentially the King Regent. So again, I'm sure he could have come up with something again. That way he could have solved, right? That way he could have solved the problem of the blockade that Rhaenyra is doing in terms of the food, and Rhaenyra's what was it, message or her gift, right? Right, her gift wouldn't have meant much if he had broken the blockade. I mean, I'm sure it still would have gone through, but again, they would have gotten news. All right, Aemon with Vhagar and the Lannisters and more men have broken through have broken through Rhaenyra's blockade, but they might not immediately see food, or maybe they'll strap some food carts to Vhagar, right? That way, Rhaenyra's gift wouldn't be as strong in that context, but he didn't do that, and again, he did. It was pretty good, but again, Aemon's clearly still lacking some of the PR finesse that Otto would have probably done. But didn't would Otto have sent Aemon on Vhagar to still broken that blockade, or maybe he would have figured out some other way, or right? But then again, this all goes back to if right, the second group of rat catchers that work on with the royals, right, on that floor, if they weren't caught up in the hanging, Otto probably would have known, and if Otto was still in charge, he probably would have found out about Rhaenyra's gift and found a way to spin that. So in the night, he probably could have rebranded some of those. Again, it'll probably look weird. Maybe he probably would have put like the high tower symbol on it, knowing Otto. But again, if he was really with the crown, he probably would put the green part, right? He probably would put like the Targaryen sigil with the green background that we see everyone else in the King's Guard or the army. No, the King's Guard wear their own colors, right? They're King's Guard, and not the Targaryen sigil with the green background, which is more just their men. So we probably would have seen right, Otto trying seasoning for himself, right? So again, we would have seen some Otto doing that, and but again, I'm pretty sure they probably would have been in a slightly better position if Otto. But again, the damage had been done, given that those group of rat catchers that worked that second floor or so were hung, and so again, Otto was more or less in the dark. So maybe he wouldn't have found out, but maybe he would have found a way to spin it or something. Maybe he probably would have tampered with the food at that point, saying, "Oh no, your queen or the opposing or attempting usurper would have sent you poisoned gifts," right? Maybe probably would have tampered with the food, and some software would have gotten sick or something. In terms of their PR stunt, right? So that way they couldn't eat that food, and they probably just hold that food in, right, for the royal keep, and then maybe re-release that after some serious rebranding, saying no, that's their food that they're giving up. But again, it's not going to go over that well, because again, they're probably all right. No, they're again. We all know the small folk aren't that bright, but again, I'm sure some people would have at least noticed what they're doing, and I'm sure that would have spread like wildfire, right? If they were to do that specific, right, rebrand the food as their and then pass it off as their own, right? But I'm sure Otto Hightower would have found a way to finesse it in a certain way. Again, his experience with PR is very valuable. Other than that, again, what is it, Sir? Not Blackfire. Again, I'm forgetting his name. Well, I mean, so did the history books apparently. No, they didn't. Right, he's still aged here, so maybe I should probably look at Fire and Blood. So right, I would have waited for a bit more proof before that he was jumping at, or maybe jump out of the way or something. But Rhaenyra, is that the only guy you could have gotten in now? The other guys on what, or is it Sea Smoke or something? One of the legitimate, right? The Sea Snake's legitimate son is claimed Sea Smoke, right? So again, Corlys now had the king. I mean, things are shaping up a little bit better. He's starting to get. I mean, he's already proven himself on the stepstones. They all more or less know. And again, they are referencing, well, I mean, how come their color isn't there in their hair? Well, he's been shaving his head, right? It works. I mean, it's a little bit slow. I still think it maybe did a little bit better than the last episode. Again, mainly because of Ewan Mitchell's Aemon Targaryen chewing up the scenery in this episode. Again, it's so brilliant. Like, I mean, they're both so good, right? I mean, we got what is that? Olivia Cook, Ewan Mitchell, again having that dynamic again. Just so much tension. Like each one of them's like trying to like find a way. Like, well, who's in the right here? Like, no, you're doing this because of this reason. Again, the writing's fairly good in those instances, but for some reason they didn't bring that up over when Rhaenyra and Daemon were just like, no, you're both of you speak High Valyrian. Again, I'm surprised they didn't switch over to High Valyrian during that instance. Again, you see some of these inconsistencies, right? Whereas in with Alicent, that's not possible. They still nailed it, but in Rhaenyra and Daemon's quarrel, or again, more quarrel than argument. In their case, they probably should have switched to High Valyrian, right? If they are discussing whether Daemon really did do something heinous, right? Very, very, very heinous in that context, right? Ordering that decapitation of a child. Again, maybe they didn't. Again, maybe they just wanted it to be more palatable. But other than it dragging, it probably should have been in High Valyrian. We have seen them interact in High Valyrian in the first season. And again, it would have been a bit more consistent. Due to, like, again, probably the Maester, fluent in High Valyrian, if not very proficient. So again, they should have definitely been. Probably it would have been better for them to switch into High Valyrian if they're saying, well, Daemon probably would have been guilty, right? It's essentially discussing the incrimination of Daemon, right? In open discourse like that, yeah, probably not a good idea. Now their counsel's probably, oh well, he's been fairly incriminated. Like maybe he has done that, and maybe having that switched over to High Valyrian would have maintained that a little bit more. Like, but their quarrel is just too long, and again, that's still not. It just goes on for too long, and they're not exactly. It's rather unrefined for a first century royalty, right? I mean, I believe Aemon and Alicent have much better dialogue, so I guess we all know who the writers support in this, given the fact that their prose are much better. Again, or maybe it's just the fact that maybe they just thought he'd be better at delivering it that way. Whoever the writers were in each episode, I want to check. But again, Aemon doing everything, again, just very on point. He's been nailing his scenes, maybe a little too much in some episodes. And of course, Alicent again, Olivia Cook, very good. So again, they're both acting each other off again better. I mean, right in that one scene, right, more or less, with Helena's like having the small folk clamoring at her when they put a curse on Rhaenyra, and then we more or less get to see that revisited in episode 6. But now they're not exactly on her side again. They more or less, again, you can see like, she's super distressed in that instance. And again, haven't seen season 1 of Game of Thrones. Like, come on. I mean, there might be, or any of the other seasons when the small folk literally will literally tear apart the people that are with the royals, or any other people. We've seen them do some pretty nasty things. So, right. So we got possibly a diluted Valyrian, in this case probably more Targaryen, extended family member that failed to become a dragon rider. The dragon also faked him out a bit cruel. And then of course them reinstating Otto Hightower and him and Aemon, right, relieving Alicent of her duties, because again, when they're in need, yes, she keeps things going without things completely descending into chaos, but there's clearly people more qualified to that, right? He's more or less relieved her of her duties. similar to how Aegon had relieved Sir Otto Hightower. So again, we're probably going to see that come back and bite him in the behind. So again, sort of like Aegon, because while she isn't really contributing that much, again, I'm sure she's at least keeping something together. I mean, again, the trend seems to be like, well, you relieve a Hightower of their duty, it comes back to bite you. So, all right, there we go. All right, just small errors, but again, neat stuff. Right, and also Allison talking with her brother again. Other than, it's okay. I mean, when she's talking with her brother, right? I mean, them more or less knowing that, yeah, that probably's happened. Yeah, Kristen Cole, like, yeah, he's more or less has a point. Right, Allison and Kristen Cole realizing that, yeah, what they must do now is horrible, and they probably have signed their death sentences, or yeah, they're pretty much have forsaken their lives, like, given the positions that they find themselves in. Like, I mean, they can't really, like, bow down at that point because they've essentially taken treason stance. Yeah, they're in a bad position. What they must do now is horrible. And other than that, yeah, no, it's not looking good for them, right? And yeah, they're all aware of that. And right, again, we see the small folk doing their things. Not all that great. But again, it's more to see the desperation, right? Oh, and right, and then the the servant that was Aegon's, right? Aegon's victim. Again, if they're not gonna, again, she doesn't have a part to play. And again, they're just like, oh, hey, see her again. I don't know at this point. I mean, it's not, if she's doing this stuff, it's not really that important. Like, she's not really contributing again to the narrative, right, to the story at that point. I mean, they pretty much more or less have to. Again, I doubt she's gonna play that much of a role, but oh, right, if there are only 2 episodes left, then so does that mean that we are gonna get to see that Harrenhal Aemond v. Daemon go down, like, pretty much not Clegane Bowl, but Aemond Daemon Bowl, or whatever. So we might see that, maybe. If not, I mean, we're probably gonna have to wait another 2 years, right? Again, they're not that bad. Oh, right, that scene with Misari and Rhaenyra, right? Again, not my cup of tea, but again, I look forward to seeing everyone else having their own experiences with that one. It's probably gonna be a joy, yes. And that's more or less covers pretty much, right? Covered their legitimate kids. Let's just go back and check. All right, so the council. Oh, right. What am I believing out is the Daemon stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, there's no reason you shouldn't know about the magic stuff. Like, even Euron knows. And that's later on when it's actually hard to find. So, yeah, Daemon should definitely know about the magic-y or potions things, right? Should probably be more like, a bit more like an Oberyn, right? Not entirely that well versed, but all right, they were saying why it would cost Rhaenyra to slap the one of the older guys there, right? Right, again, it's a thing about Aegon and Aemond. Yes, Aemond might be seizing it at that point and might just be not wanting to get in trouble, right, for his possible thing, and maybe it's just better. Maybe it's that, yeah, Aegon's probably not that suited. Right, that wild dragon. Maybe, what is that, sea smoke? Right, and we still need some more details. Some of these things are leaving fairly blank. Yeah, again, more of them with the vision stuff, right? That scene. Right, and then of course Rhaenyra possibly saying, all right, well, what do you want? You more or less have stand with a dragon of House Targaryen, so essentially, like, yeah, you must serve. Again, Rhaenyra has been contemplating a lot, like, oh, well, no one fears her, fairly whiny. come on. I mean, we're expecting Rhaenyra. Come on. I mean, she's like, oh no, he believes this. I mean, at this point, Aemon's the only one that seems to be having the best scenes in this case, right? Maybe the better dialogue. So I guess we know again who the writers support him back. Or maybe it was just easier to write lines for Aemon. Maybe he's a little bit more interesting of a character, right? Mainly due to how his character has shaped over as opposed to Rhaenyra. With his, again, more or less everyone's been saying, yeah, she's right, the princess who's gotten everything, right? And supposed to Aemon like just, all right, now he's had this, and now he's done this. Now he's super capable, regularly best Kristen Cole, right? Vhagar, brilliant tactician, having things be very unfeeling and cold, right? Very calculating, but still lacks the finesse of the political strategist that maybe Tywin would have. Again, he's not exactly Tywin. Right, again, they're comparing so many things to Daemon, but I think Daemon's more reckless than Aemon, right? And Aemon just needs to get a little bit more, become a little bit more politically savvy, as for when he nails that, he'd probably be a fairly strong comparison to, at least he'll be closer to maybe getting some of Tywin's character, not necessarily character, no, but he'd be definitely in line, right? He'd be approaching like Tywin Lannister level stuff if he just becomes a little bit more politically savvy, if he learns more of that PR. If he would have probably listened to Lara Strong a bit more in that one. Maybe he definitely should, right? Because Aegon was definitely taking up Lara Strong on his having more Master of Whispers, right? And if Aemon had probably engaged in that a bit more, he'd definitely be able to probably maneuver the political sphere and the PR a little bit better, and he probably still would have appointed Sir Otto Hightower, which probably would still be the better choice, but there's some reason he couldn't be still listening to Lara Strong in terms of, well, maybe we could compare it with Sir Otto Hightower, right? His grandfather, grandsire. And at that point, maybe saying, well, I mean, maybe we could do a bit of this right together, and maybe at that point, maybe he probably would have had a fairly strong chance to at least win the small folk, and then maybe he probably shouldn't be going on to battle so much if he's the king regent, but he definitely be on a much closer track to at least having won the small folk, and maybe not necessarily all the wars, but again, he maybe would have been in a better position. Yeah, again, to touch on the Daemon thing, he definitely should know more. Whether maybe this is a little conspiracy between, maybe they do favor Rhaenyra, and maybe we're like, well, we're trying to get Daemon to serve Rhaenyra more. I mean, it's still, either way, it's not looking all that great for him. And again, Daemon, you're kind of looking a little bit incompetent if you don't know some of that stuff, right? Because we saw him be very capable with knowing that they were keeping Viserys adult on milk at the poppy in the first season. Yeah, other than that, yeah, everything's more or less touched on, right? They're trying to see their food. Right, again, we would see more Daemon being possibly, again, I think we've more or less gotten confirmation, right, with the cup being tilted over. Essentially, yeah, it does seem to suggest, and of course we have been seeing maybe a slight incriminating smirk on this, and then of course with him having that part with needing Daemon to secure funds from Rhaenyra. So yeah, maybe they have been drugging him, right? Pharmaceuticals and other stuff like Moon Tea exists, right? Like pretty much Plant Tea exists in this universe, right? There's no reason if that version of a pharmaceutical can exist, right? Those pharmaceuticals are potentially functioning like steroids, right? If that pharmaceutical exists in this world, there's no reason those other pharmaceuticals can exist, right? I mean, you could go an entire pharmacy school for pharmaceuticals, right? So again, it can be very complex, but again, we know potions exist. You should know this, Daemon. I doubt they mention enough of this, right? And if it's not, it could be a combination of the pharmaceuticals, right? Magic potions or whatever, and then maybe the green seer part, maybe not, but it seems to lend credence of them not necessarily being green seer, but maybe having some magical stuff happening there, maybe just like basic stuff, right? But but again, that Damon things, it's like every time we see Damon, it's just more like, oh, all right, Vision's like maybe they're keeping him addled on this. Again, knowing that he gets detect when someone's being addled, you should be able to detect it when you're being addled. Again, you kind of seeing Damon's gone from this fairly capable, right, rogue prince to now just being like, well, I mean, at this point he's being addled and doesn't know what to do. I mean, again, he's losing some of that character gain at this point, and they don't even touch on it, right, in the after stuff. So again, he there's definitely no way he should be here. Right, I mean, he's too competent for probably not have noticed that, or maybe he's just seeing it through. But again, the way this is shot, it's looking like, yeah, Damon has no idea of if he's being pharmaceutical in a way medicated by and then if they are just trying to get more funds from Rhaenyra, or maybe they secretly support Sir Larry Strong, and maybe there's a way for them to just drain Rhaenyra's money, right? Because if he secures the funding from Rhaenyra, then that means they get funding. And if they're serve someone else with that funding, they could use that for their own purposes. In this case, if they were to serve the Greens, right? So not all that great on his end. But yeah, other than that scene, right? It's so interesting that this scene happens right before. They get bursts in, and then the other guy, like, whoa, no, we got a new dragon rider, right? This happens right before that. Or are they just trying to get more? I mean, they could have had a scene at a brothel, right? I mean, if they were really trying to pander, but no, they had to have these two specific ones. Like, well, I mean, if there was a guy, I mean, he'd definitely be shagging. So I guess it is consistent in that respect. Yeah. And yeah. Come on, he obviously knows. Like, it's like, oh, really? Like, it doesn't matter who's in there; they always end up shagging their advisor or whoever's like wherever they're working together, right? And again, it's probably due to the fact that yes, their gift was sent and everything. The PR is in their favor, right? I guess success is what's the aphrodisiac in this case. All right, so that's enough, I guess. All right. I'll see everyone in the next one, and only 2 episodes, right? We just crossed to 22nd, so the 28th, man, it's the end of the month, and then there'd be 1 episode after, probably in August. Yes. So interesting. Covered more or less everything. Again, I'm just gonna have to wait on some of these other episodes, and just funny. I mean, I wonder if they're gonna just be brought up in the next episode. All right, I'll see everyone on the next one. I gotta get to work on editing this and getting it out for everyone. So I'm seeing what's the discussion on post the episode. See everyone.